Great evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us again on another exciting Upgrade Mastery just for you. Yes, you heard that right. This is the Upgrade Mastery just for you with Mr. Upgrade. And we do this every Fridays. Yes, Fridays, 7 p.m. through to 8 p.m. We basically get to do the Upgrade Mastery just for you with Mr. Upgrade. And this is something that really just help us to unwind, relax, share the learnings from the week, the things that stood out for us, the challenges we faced, and how we were able to overcome those challenges. I know you've had a great week, but even if your week has not been great, what was your week like that you want to talk about? Because that's what we get to do on the Upgrade Mastery just for you. We get to share our experiences from the week, our learning points, the things that stood out for us, the challenges we faced, and how we were able to overcome them, and the learning points from those things. That's what we get to do here on the Upgrade Mastery just for you. I'm super excited to have you join us again on another exciting episode. But before we get into our conversation for today, feel free to share the link with your friends, your family, your enemies, your loved ones. In this season of love, sharing is caring and loving. So you can share your link with your loved ones so that they too can be part of the conversation and you can also enjoy the most of this conversation. Also, feel free to let us know where you're watching us from so that we can appreciate you for joining the conversation. This is the Upgrade Mastery just for you. Yes, it's put together entirely for you because we want you to have an experience. We want you to let your head down. It's the weekend, right? So tell us, what was your week like? What did you do? What did you achieve? What couldn't you do? Right? What were the things that posed a stumbling block for you? Or what were the things that you was a walkover for you? Tell us about your week. We really want to know how you were during the week and also share how are you. If you do have questions, feel free to ask your questions because we would love to take those questions because it helps us get to connect with you even on a more deeper level, right? Today on the conversation, we're going to talk about right audience. Yes, we're going to talk about right audience. But before we get into the right audience conversation, you know how we always do it here on the Upgrade Mastery just for you. We get to talk about your week, right? And also we get to share with you some of our learning points from our week, some of the things that we shared on our Instagram platform, which we believe will truly be of great help to you. So we're going to share them here also so you can have like a review of all the things that we learned during the week so that they just stick more for you because the more you review things, the more they become a part of you, right? It moves away from just being in your head to going into being in your heart, right? And that's what we want you to always have, the things that we share with you here, that they be in your heart, because when it's in your heart, then it becomes a part of you and we see it in all of the actions that you take. Now, during this week, we kicked off the week with the conversation on never stop praying. Yes, never stop praying. That was the conversation we kicked off the week with, never stop praying. Now, the reason why we started the week with that is because some people pray about everything because we know that it's only when you are in a dire strait, you are in a situation where it looks like everywhere is bleak, there's no coming out of this one, that's when you remember to pray. Shaggy once said something that as soon as people realize upon their situation, they start to call on God. In his song back in the day, Why Me, right? So, excuse me, we talked about pray about everything, right? And you've always heard me say this over and over and over that prayerlessness is the ultimate pride. The one who truly has pride is the one who doesn't pray. Yes, prayerlessness is the ultimate pride. So it's expected of you to pray about everything. Literally, pray about everything. Now, there are three reasons why you should pray about everything. Say one, so you will have peace. We live in a world where there's so many things that want to steal your peace. Literally, so many things want to steal your peace. So many things want to steal your joy. So many things want to make you unhappy and sad. Now, when you pray, your first response to that prayer is the peace that you have. That's what scripture says in Philippians 4, verse 6. It says that be anxious for nothing, but in everything, through prayer and supplication, let your request be made known to the Father. And in verse 7, it says, and the peace that surpasses all understanding will garrison your heart and mind. So the first response to prayer is peace. So the reason why you should pray about everything, number one, so you have peace. Number two, so you can let go and let God intervene and take charge. That's why you have to pray. So you can let go of the things and let God intervene and take charge. Many times we feel like we have so much sense we can solve our problems ourselves. But when you pray, you're not becoming lazy. You're only just telling God, take charge of this situation. I trust you will do a better job for this situation than I will ever do. So I'm letting you take the reins. I'm letting you take charge, right? And then the third reason why you should pray about everything is because so everything can work together for your good. Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are the called according to his purpose. So when you pray about everything, you are aligning everything to work together for your good, right? Now, you also mentioned the fact that when you pray about everything, it's because prayer changes you than it changes the things, right? So that's why you pray about everything, because it first fixes you, it first changes you, and then it changes the things you prayed about. So as long as you can worry, the truth is you can also pray, right? As long as you can worry, you can actually pray. And nothing gives you advantage in life when you pray. Nothing gives you advantage like when you pray, because God answers prayers. So pray about everything, because everything, guys, surely needs prayer. So that's how we kicked off the week, to pray about everything. And we indeed prayed about some things during the week, and we saw solutions. We saw results for the things that we prayed for, right? Because this thing works. So we're not just telling you what you should just have in your head. We're telling you what we practice and we know works for you, right? Now, the second thing we talked about during the week that I want to also share with you is the fact that we also talked about never stop praying. Never stop praying. Sometimes people would pray, and then when they start to see results, they stop to pray. But we have come to challenge you to say, never stop praying. Whether you see result or you don't see result, keep praying. As long as you have air in your lungs, as long as you are alive, keep praying. Never, never stop praying, right? You must arrive at that point in your life where you never stop praying, right? Remember in scripture, we're reminded to pray without ceasing, right? We're reminded to pray without ceasing. So you must never stop praying. Jesus told them a story that it's necessary to pray consistently and never quit. Remember in Luke 18, right? Jesus told them that story. It's necessary to pray consistently and never quit. And then he told us the story about the unjust judge and the widowed woman who wanted justice for her son. And because she came persistent, the judge who did not fear God or did not fear man heed the widow's request. Never stop praying. Prayer is like oxygen to your human life. It's like oxygen to the human life, because you will not thrive until you start to pray. You will survive, no doubt, but you will not truly thrive until you start to pray, right? No doubt there are people who can do life without praying, no doubt, but it will be a life of struggle. And I know you don't want a life of struggle, so I encourage you to never stop praying, because in praying lies your victories over all the circumstances of life you will come across. So, if I were you, I would never stop praying. Very important, right? Also, this week we talked about know who got your back. Know who got your back. I love this conversation of the week because it was just going through the motions. It was just going from one level to another. It's important to know that you can be surrounded by people and still be alone. Very important. You must know that you can be surrounded by people and you are still alone. So it's important that you get to know the people who really got your back. And there are three ways to know people who got your back. Number one, you see it in their support. When people support you when it's only convenient for them, that's not really support, right? When people support you when it's only convenient for them, that is not really support. But when people go out of their way to inconvenience themselves because they want to support you, that, my friend, that is support. Now, that's how you know people who got your back, because they will go out of their way to support you, to show up for you, to be there for you, right? That shows they got your back, right? Number two, they will refer you. They will tell other people about you. Because you are not the best kept secret. So why are you being hidden? People who got your back would refer you. They will tell other people about you so that other people get to know about the amazing things that you can do. So they will refer you. And then how you know people who got your back is that they will defend you, especially in your absence. They will defend you. They would stick their head on the line just for you because they got your back. And you see, if you need to ask if they've got your back, it is enough proof that they don't have your back. I want you to let that sink in. If you need to ask them if they've got your back, that's enough proof that they don't got your back, because you would have seen it from their lack of support, from their lack of referrals, from their lack of defense to you, especially in your absence. Right? Even Paul says that as you have obeyed me in my presence, do much more in my absence. Right? Those who got your back, guess what? Will do much more in your absence than they will do in your presence. In fact, they will do as much in your presence and much more in your absence. That shows they got your back. Now, never assume that people are with you. Translate that they got your back, because you can be surrounded by people and still be alone. Right? In the piece I did many years ago, Thoughts, right? That piece is over 10 years old now. One of the lines in the piece was, I'm surrounded by people, yet I'm alone. I dial 911, but I'm placed on hold, right? You must know the people who've got your back. Right? You must know the people who've got your back. And then, when you know the people who got your back, it gives you sure safety and security. Yes, the people who've got your back, it gives you safety and security because they've got your back. So it's up to you to really get to know the important, right? Now, one of the things about the place that you're used to is the fact that sometimes you get used to a place and then you don't know that that place has the way it begins to affect the person that you are. The Israelites got used to slavery in Egypt. And when they even left Egypt, all they could think about was the garlics, the onions, the cucumbers that were in Egypt. So they had left Egypt, but Egypt have not left them. Why? Because they have been in a place for so long and now they are used to that place. You must be mindful of the place that you're used to, because sometimes those places can just become what's limiting you. Now, we said three simple things about the place that you're used to. Number one, familiarity and complacency can set in. Number two, conditioning to never think differently because you're already used to the place. And number three, you become comfortable in your discomfort. Now, these are Three things about the place that you're used to. And you must never get used to a place. And a place is not just a physical place, it's also mental, it's also financial, it's also emotional, it's even spiritual, right? You belong where you believe you belong. So where is that for you? Where is that for you? It is time for you to leave the place that you are used to, right? Unfortunately, some people don't realize the damage done to them by the place that they are used to until they leave. Yeah. Until you actually leave that place before you get to even realize the extent of the damage that has been done to you by that place that you are used to. So, refuse to be used to any place that doesn't bring out the best in you. Refuse to be used to such places, right? And then we moved on to something interesting, which is going to be the offshoot for today's conversation, the right audience. We talked about same skill, different audience. I love this conversation because it was eye-opening. Same skill, different audience. Interesting is sometimes it's not what you do that needs to change, but it's who you do it for that needs to change. I'll say that again. It is not what you do that needs to change, it is who you do it for that needs to change. Who you do it for that needs to change. So it's the same skill, but it's a different audience. And that's what is going to be the foundation for which we have this conversation today, which is right audience, right? Joseph interpreted 3 dreams. The first was the one for the butler, the second was the one for the baker, the third was the one for Pharaoh. Now, the one for the butler was the audience, couldn't do much for Joseph. The one for the baker was the audience, couldn't do much for Joseph. But the one for Pharaoh elevated Joseph from being a prisoner to being a prime minister. Same skill, different audience. Same skill. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I need to learn some new skill. No. You need to find the right audience. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because the same product or service that you currently have, it needs new and right audience for it. Maybe the people you have been serving those skills to are not the right audience. That's why you're getting the kind of results you're getting. And that's the conversation that we're going to be having today. Now, 3 reasons for same skills, same different audience. Number 1, your worth is recognized. Number 2, your value is appreciated. And number 3, your presence is celebrated. Now, like I said, you don't necessarily need to do new things. You just need to do old things for new people. I'll say that again. You don't necessarily need to do new things. You just need to do new things, same things for new people. You get that? You don't need to do new things. No, not at all. You just need to do the same things you've been doing, but this time for new people. When Joseph interpreted the dream for Pharaoh, he was elevated from being a prisoner to being a prime minister. Same dream interpretation. Right? Same thing. Now, when people don't recognize your value and your worth, they are truly not your audience. We're going to talk more about that later on the right audience. How to know the right audience, right? When they don't recognize your value and your worth, they are truly not your audience. Scripture says that Jesus could not do mighty works in his hometown. Why? Because they kept saying, is this not the carpenter's son? Is this not Mary's boy? Are his brothers and sisters not among us? Couldn't do mighty works in their midst because no recognition. And he even had to say that a prophet is honored everywhere except in his hometown. Now, just as time and chance happens to us all, so also is same skill, but a different audience happens to. So keep honing your skills, right? Keep doing what you're doing. The right audience is coming. I'm going to share with you how to locate and position yourself for the right audience, right? And finally, it's not the time for you to change your skill, but it's time for you to change your audience. And the last thing we talked about this week is that you inspire others. I'm just going through some of the things that I do, and I remembered how Mr. Lakey Alder, who turns 60 sometime this month, inspired my writing on Twitter, right? That's now X, right? Back in the day, he used to share letters to Jack and letters to Jill, right? He shares them on Saturday morning and evening, right? And those letters were truly, truly inspiring. And then I learned how to now write in that same way. I started writing the Strength for Weekend and Develop You. So those of you who have ever come across Strength for Weekend and Develop You, that's where I got the inspiration from Mr. Leke Ola. He used to call himself Uncle LA on Twitter back in the day, but then he stopped sharing those letters some time ago, and he no longer shared those letters on Twitter. Now, why do I have to talk about you inspire others? Because sometimes you don't know that the things you're doing, they're also a source of inspiration for other people. One thing you may not know is that you inspire others. You have no idea the people that you inspire. And we said that there are three simple ways you inspire others. Number one, by who you are. Number two, by how you live. And number three, by what you do. These are simple ways that you get to inspire others. And let me tell you this, you may never get to truly know the full extent to which you inspire others. But however, never for once think you don't inspire others, because you do. Yes, you do. And the others you inspire may never even tell you how much you inspire them. They may never tell you. But if you're a wise person, it's okay to tell the people that inspire you that they inspire you. Tell them. Send them a mail, send them a DM, right? Let them know that they inspire you. Don't hide it. Don't hide it, right? Settle it in your heart that you inspire others to be, so you can be intentional, deliberate in who you are and all that you do. So that will help you to be more intentional and deliberate about yourself, because you know that you truly do inspire others. And finally, just as you are inspired by others, that's how you too also inspire others. So these are some of the things that we learned during the week and we shared during the week on our different platforms, so that you too can also learn and become better for yourself. So let's get into our conversation today. And that conversation today is on the right audience. Here, the right audience. Now, when you hear the right audience, what comes to your mind? By the way, shout out to my friend, Mr. Upgrade, who's doing an amazing job. That's you. But shout out to my friend, Emmanuel, on his podcast. He just crossed 10 million plays. Now, 10 million plays is not a joke. If you do podcasts on any platform at all, to have 10 million plays, organic plays, is not a joke, right? So he just crossed 10 million plays as of today on his podcast, and he's just less than 2 years old. Phenomenal work. Shout out to Emmanuel on the Let's Talk podcast with Emmanuel. If you haven't listened to it, you should listen to it. Go on Wow FM and check out Let's Talk Podcast LTP, right? And you get to see the 107 episode he has so far. They will bless you. Okay, so let's get into the conversation for today, right, audience. And if you're just joining in, feel free to drop a comment, put a heart, ask your questions so that we can enjoy the conversation together, because it's a conversation, it's not a lecture, right? So this is the Upgrade Mastery Just For You. And we do this every Fridays, 7 p.m. through to 8 p.m. And today we're going to talk about right audience. Now, I want to ask you, how would you know the right audience? How would you know the right audience? One of the reasons for this conversation on right audience, because people always have this misconception that everyone is their audience. Now, the first thing I want you to get from this whole conversation is this: everybody is not your audience. I want you to write that down. Everybody is not my audience. Write that down. Write that down. Put that in the comment section. Everybody is not my audience. Now, why do I say this? Because many times people believe that because you're posting online, everybody online is going to see what you're posting. So everybody online automatically becomes your audience. No. No. Everybody is not your audience. Lesson number one: everybody is not your audience. So you must let that sink in. Now, for whatever you do, whether it's a product or a service, you must understand the importance of two things. I really would just go slow on this conversation because I really want you to get it. Now, you must understand the importance of two things. Number one, the importance of people. Number two, the importance of places. Now, these two things are what makes up audience. People and places are what makes up audience. Now, I talked earlier about my friend Emmanuel, whose podcast just hit over 10 million plays. Now, that is being made possible by people in different places. That makes up the audience, people and the place. Now, how do you now get to know who are the right people? All right, thank you so much for putting that. You know the right audience when you get results. Fantastic. You know the right audience when you get results. Good, I love this. But can you not get results and still have that right audience? Can you not get results and still have the right audience? Next comment was, okay, what's the next comment? Yeah, everybody's not my audience. True. True that. Everybody is not your audience. True that. Now, can you be with the right audience and not get results? You know, one of the things that we try to always put so much emphasis on is results. And I hope one of these is I'm really going to talk to us about result, because it's result that is driving people to do all that they do today. Forgetting that there's something called process. The process is as important as the result. You must never forget that. The process is as important as the result. Never ever forget that. So let's say the result is that you want to make a lot of money, right? And then you go and do the wrong things to make money. That's a result. You do the wrong things, you make money. But look at the process. Look at the process. So it's not enough to just say, oh, the results. If I'm getting the result, then I'm in the right audience. Not completely true. And that's why we're talking about the right audience today. Now, there are three ways I believe it's easy for you to know if you're in the right audience. Three ways I can know if you're in the right audience. Three simple ways, and I want you to write this down. Three simple ways you can get to know if you're in the right audience. Number one, the right audience recognize your worth. The right audience recognize your worth. You know, at one point, while the people were leaving Jesus, and Jesus turned to the disciples and said, won't you also leave? And he said, for who do we leave you to? You are the one that have the word of life. Right? Jesus literally told them, everybody's leaving, so you too can leave. And I said, so where? You are the one who has the word of life. Where are we leaving to? Where are we leaving to? Now, at that point, they had come to recognize his worth. The first thing about knowing the right audience is that they recognize your worth. They recognize your worth. And because they recognize your worth, they stay. Now, speaking about results, you see what a lot of people do today? They jump from one prayer house to another because they feel like they are going to get results when they go to that new prayer house. That's the craze for results that people have today. They're going to where they feel they will always get results. So they are moving from one place to the other. But the truth is this: you know the right audience that you have. Number one, they recognize your worth. That's how you know them. Like they recognize your worth. Number two, how you know the right audience is that they recognize your value. First is your worth. Second is your value. I know I've always taught us here that value three things: anything that is beneficial, anything that is of help, and anything that is a solution. The right audience recognize your value. So they are for you and with you because of your value. They know how beneficial you are to them. They know how of help you are to them. And they know the solution you bring to them. So they recognize your value. Right? And because they recognize your value, it leads us to the third reason to know the right audience. They appreciate you. They appreciate you. They celebrate you. They are grateful to have you in their lives. That's the right audience. They honor you. They respect you. That's the right audience. They're not the ones who will take you for granted. They're not the ones who will allow familiarity, see finish, and devalue to set in. No, they are the right audience because they appreciate you. Now, these are the three things for you to easily know if the people around you are the right audience or they are not the right audience. Number one, they recognize your worth. They know the worth that you have and they recognize it. Now, interestingly, you already know your worth. You already know your value. You already appreciate yourself. But the audience that you have been called to must also do the same. They must also recognize your worth. They must also recognize your value. And they must also appreciate that whatever it is that you do for them. They must appreciate your worth and your value. That's how you know the right audience. So you're not the type who are going to mouth you. You're the type who are going to say ill of you behind you. No. Because they know your worth. They know your value. They appreciate it. And they will do anything for you. Right? They recognize your worth, they recognize your value, and they appreciate you. Exactly. That's how you know the right audience. That is how you know the right audience. Now, how do you know the wrong audience? I'll tell you how. We must do right and wrong. So how do you know the wrong audience? Three simple ways again for you to know the wrong audience. Number one, familiarity. My guy. Wrong audience. That's what happened to the people in Jesus' hometown. Familiarity. They saw him like the carpenter's son. They didn't see him like the Son of God. Familiarity. And Jesus could not do mighty works amongst them because of that. So familiarity is one of the ways you know the wrong audience. Familiarity. So you see people who you're supposed to respect, you're supposed to honor, but because you have become familiar with them, you take them for granted. You start to do my guy, my paddy, and all of those things. You have put yourself into the category of the wrong audience. And the value that these people bring to you, you will no longer receive them. Not that you're not giving it, but you can no longer receive it because of your familiarity. Second way you know the wrong audience, see finish. See finish. Right? They begin to take you for granted. See finish. Once you start to experience this in any audience you find yourself, it's time to pack your bags and go. They have made themselves now become the wrong audience through that. So it's time to go. Don't force it. Don't feel bad about it. It's just time to pack your bag and go. Anywhere see finish has set in, it's time for you to get your bags and set out, because now they have become the wrong audience for you. And then the third way for you to spot the wrong audience is devalue. You start to devalue whatever it is that you do. You start to talk it down. You start to make fun about it. You start to trash it. You just start to devalue it right in front of you. When you begin to see that and notice that, guess what? That is the wrong audience for you. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to go. And you should never feel bad walking away. You should never feel bad walking away. You know, as long as your umbilical cord was never tied to any audience, you should never feel bad to walk away. Never. Because once they don't see your value, once see finish has come in, once there's over familiarity, even what you have for them, they will not be in the position or the disposition anymore to receive it from you. So it's time to go. It's just time to go. Because now they have made themselves the wrong audience. Now, I've told you about the right audience, I've told you about the wrong audience, right? Now, there's some things about the right audience that you must also know. Stop trying to force yourself on those who are not the right audience. Stop trying to do so much for those people who you have spot that they devalue you. See finish have come in and over familiarity is now there. Stop trying to do too much. Even Jesus did not try to do too much in his hometown. He went to other cities and he said that a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown. Jesus didn't try to do too much. So who are you? You know, when you're trying to do too much, that now becomes a sign that you truly do not know yourself. Because if you know yourself, you will no longer put yourself in a place where you're already being devalued, you're already being taken for granted, and you're already experiencing over familiarity. If you truly know yourself, you will know it's time for you to walk away. And don't even look back. Don't even look back. Right? So stop trying to force yourself on the people who you know are not the right audience for you. So if you were sharing things with them before, stop it. Stop it. If they were on your list on social media, remove them. They have shown to you that they are not the right audience, so let them go. Let them go. Unfollow them. Let them go. Because they have shown to you that they devalue what you do. There's over familiarity now with what you do, and see finish have set in. So it's time to let them go. It's time to let them go. So if you notice that some people have cut you off, it's time to ask yourself, did you become the wrong audience for them? That's why they probably have cut you off. Because people who truly know themselves will not put themselves in places where they are taken for granted. They will not. They would remove themselves from such spaces and places where they are taken for granted. They will remove themselves because they know their self-worth, they know their value, so they will not condescend to take that. They'll walk away. They'll walk away. And trust me, if they do walk away, if ever you come back into their space, it's going to cost you so much more to get back in there. Because now they already know you from previous experiences, and you know that you are not the right audience. They may never give you that access anymore because you have shown to them that you have become the wrong audience for them. Now, It is your responsibility to focus on the people who are the right audience for you. Focus more on the people who are the right audience for you. Now that you have known the wrong audience and you've given them the space they deserve, it's time for you to focus on those who are the right audience for you. Invest more in them. Share your treasure more with those people because they are the right audience. Why? Because they value you. You know, there's this saying that I always tell people that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Right? Is a Chinese saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Which means when the people who are the right audience, they are ready for you, you will give even more than you plan to give to them. Because they have a way they draw out from you because you see how much they value you, they see your worth, they appreciate you. So you cannot stop giving to them because they are the right audience. So when you see that some people can't really pour their heart to you, it's because you have shown to them that you are the wrong audience. You know, Jesus said something very striking, and I always tell this to people many times. I say, do not cast pears among swine. That's what Jesus said. And I always try to repeat this to people. Do not cast pears among swine because they will devalue it. Which means do not put your best treasures to people who don't appreciate it, people who don't value it, people who don't see the worth. Do not do that because they are not the right audience for it. It's just like taking a brand new car and giving it to a 3-month-old baby. It doesn't know what to do with it. Now, let me share with us some biblical examples of the right audience. You know, in scripture at one point, Jesus healed 10 lepers. They came to him and he told them to go show themselves to the priest, right? And as they went on their journey, they discovered that they were healed. And then one of them came back. One of them came back to say thanks. And Jesus said, were there not 9 that were healed? How come only one have come back with gratitude? And Jesus said to the one who had come back that one is now made whole. The others were healed. One that came back was made whole. Now, how does this relate to the right audience? The one who came back is the right audience because that one came back to recognize the value, the worth, and to appreciate what Jesus did. The others probably felt it was their right, probably felt they deserved it, probably felt that they earned it. But this one who came back was the right audience. This one showed, I appreciate what it is that you do for me. And then, like I told you earlier, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. While the others were healed, this one who came back was made whole. Right audience. Another biblical example of the right audience, which you may not even have thought of, is the woman by the well. You know, when Jesus encountered the woman by the well, this is what happened. The woman left her jar pot at the well, went into Samaria, and brought everybody from Samaria to the well to meet Jesus for themselves. Remember we said earlier that the right audience, they will support you, they will refer you. They will support you, they will refer you. This woman was doing the referrals. She went to bring the whole town of Samaria to the well to meet Jesus. She was the right audience. So Jesus didn't need to go and meet each person in Samaria. Meeting one right audience did the referral for Jesus to bring everybody to meet Jesus by the well. One person. The third example of the right audience is the woman with the issue of blood. Now, that story is very, very interesting because many people only see that story from the perspective of faith, right? But I want to show you the story from the perspective of the right audience. Now, while Jesus was walking past, the crowd followed him. Now, this woman, the right audience, who understand worth, who understand value, came pressing through the crowd and touched the hem of his garment, and she was made whole instantly. Now, Jesus stopped. Recognizing that virtue had left him, he said, "Who touched me?" Now, follow this closely. Peter said, "Master, the crowd touched you. How can you say, 'Who touched me'?" The crowd, they are touching you right now. Well, how can you say, "Who touched me"? And Jesus said, "I know someone has touched me because virtue, healing power has left me." So, how do we tie this to the right audience? The crowd was there. But the right audience, who was the woman with the issue of blood, came and connected to what Jesus had, to what Jesus carried, because she understood what, she understood value. She became the right audience for Jesus to minister to. And Jesus told her, "Be of good cheer. Your faith has made you whole." She was the right audience. Others were touching, but those who were touching did not get anything. But she came and she touched and she was healed. What she had suffered for 12 years was done. See, guys, there's this thing about the right audience that you must understand. When you are the right audience, you receive the words of those that you follow. You receive their words. The scripture says that words are spirit and life. Receive their words. You don't take their words for granted. You don't see their words like empty words. No, you receive their words. Right? When you are the right audience, you practice what you have been told. You practice. Because in the practicing, you get to iron out the processes as you practice. You know, I always tell us that the proof of learning is practice. And the proof of practice is results. Right? When you are the right audience, you always practice the words of the one you have received. And when you are the right audience, you share feedback and testimonials. You will share feedback and testimonials. You will let them know how far you have come on your journey. You let them know the testimonials that you've had so far. You also give feedback on the things that you feel they can even do better because you are the right audience. My challenge to you today is to tell you to stop being just any audience. Don't be the wrong audience, but become the right audience. And how do you become the right audience? Very simple. Know the worth, know the value, and appreciate it. That's how you become the right audience. Now, should you have any question that you need more clarification on this conversation, please feel free to drop in the comment section while this live is on. And even drop in the comment section if you get to watch the replay, and the team will get to go back and answer your question in the comment section. If you have any question, feel free to drop it as a comment and we will gladly take your question. right? We'll gladly take your questions. So far today we've been talking about the right audience, right? We're talking about the right audience, and we really, really, really want you to understand how important this is for you, right? The right audience. How important it is for you to become the right audience. Don't just be any audience. Don't just be any audience, but be the right audience. The right audience who understand what, who understand value, and who understand appreciation. That's how you become the right audience. So when people give you access into their space, let them know you are the right audience for them. Because when you are ready, you will draw so much more from them, right? Like they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You must become the right audience. You must become the right audience. And these are simple ways for you to become the right audience for anyone that you are working with, anyone that you are in the same space with, how you become the right audience. For those people, recognize their worth, recognize their value, and appreciate them. That's how you become the right audience. And then the next thing you must do is discipline yourself to not allow familiarity to creep in. Oh, it's my guy, it's my guy. No, 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 no. Discipline yourself to not allow familiarity to creep in. Now, people can perceive when people are taking them for granted. They may not tell you, but you start to notice the shift and the distance that they give to you. I'll say that again. People can perceive when you are starting to take them for granted, and they will not tell you. But if you are wise, you will begin to experience the shift and the distance that they begin to give to you because become, they are starting to recognize that you are taking them for granted through familiarity. And then see finish. Now, oh, it's my person, I beg you. No, 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 no. Discipline yourself enough to not allow see finish into your space. I'll say that again. Discipline yourself enough to not allow see finish into your space because that will make you be classified as the wrong audience. See finish. And then the third thing is that you begin to devalue what they do. You begin to talk down what they do. You begin to trash what they do. You know, when you start to do that, you have just told yourself that you are the wrong audience, and you have just carried a billboard over your head that you are the wrong audience. And guess what? They will put you where you truly belong. They'll put you where you truly belong because you have shown to them that you are the wrong audience. But because they know themselves, they will not continue to tolerate that from you. They'll not tolerate it. They'll just let you go. They'll just let you go and move on with their lives. Right? And let me tell you, if you lose access to some people, it will be hard for you to get it back. That's the truth. If you lose access to some people because you are being perceived as the wrong audience, it will be hard for you to get it back. Because mentally, they have placed you in a compartment of those who are the wrong audience, and you cannot blame them because you did that to yourself through over familiarity, through see finish, and through devalue. You did that to yourself. we'll take a bit of questions. So if you have any question whatsoever, feel free. We'll take a few questions and then we'll call it a wrap on this conversation. We'll take a few questions. If you have any question whatsoever, few, and then we'll call it a wrap for this conversation. Right? We'll take a few questions. So if you have any questions whatsoever, just ask the question and we would take it. Okay, you say, what do you do when people you have close relationship with are now your wrong audience? How do you help it so you could have saved the relationship with the person? Fantastic. So I love this question. So they are in two phases. So we'll take the first phase of the question. What do you do when people you have the close relationship with are now the wrong audience? Very simple. And that I always recommend, just let them go. Yep. Just let them go. When the people you have a close relationship with have now become the wrong audience, it's time to let them go. Don't hold on to the relationship that it looks like you cannot let it go. Just let them go. Right? Just let them go. They have chosen their path. They have chosen to disregard your worth. They have chosen to disregard your value. They have chosen to not appreciate you. So it's time to let them go. Because you see, these things we talked about, they are things of choice. Recognizing someone's worth is a thing of choice. Recognizing someone's value is a thing of choice. Appreciating someone is a thing of choice. Remember the analogy of the lepers. Only one came back. That one chose to come back. The others walked away. But only one came back because that one chose to come back. Right? So you must recognize that, and you must don't feel bad about it. Like I said, these are not things you should be sentimental about. They are not things you should be sentimental about in any way. So for the first question, what do you do when people you have close relationship with now the wrong audience? You let them go. You let them go. Right? You gradually detach yourself from them. If you used to talk to them regularly before, you withdraw from that. If you used to share some things with them before, you withdraw from that, because now they are showing you that they are the wrong audience. They don't appreciate what you do. They don't value what you do. They don't see the worth in what you do. So you are not a fool to still be stuck with them, because that now shows that you have a very poor self-esteem about yourself. So let them go. Now, the second question you asked is, how do you help it so you could also have saved the relationship with the person? Very simple. To have saved it, you probably will bring it to their notice and say, over time, I have observed this from you. And I do this a lot with people. I let them know, over time, I've observed this from you. And I feel like you normally do better before, but you seem like you have changed. What could be the problem? Because I always want to talk things out with people first, so I give them the benefit of the doubt. What could be the problem? And then, if they don't say anything, if they feel it's just normal, it's a pointer that they are beginning to no longer appreciate my worth and value. And that's a clue. That's a clue for me to begin to walk away. So, what would I do to save the relationship with the person? I will always bring it to their notice. I always do that. I bring it to their notice that this is what I have observed. So I give them the benefit of the doubt, right? If they work on it, fine. If they choose not to, remember, it's still a choice. If they choose not to, it's also absolutely fine. We'll all be fine, right? We will all be fine. Thank you so much for those beautiful questions. So any more questions before we call it a wrap? Thank you so much for those two questions. I believe those two questions also help answer the conversation and also the questions that some people may also have. But does anyone still have any questions? If there are no questions, this is what we're going to call it a wrap for today. I want to appreciate all of you for staying through to the end. Thank you so much for being here. We're truly, truly grateful and truly appreciate you for being here with us from the beginning to the end. This conversation has been amazing. It has been on the right audience. And I believe that this would help you moving forward to detect the right audience in your space and also the wrong audience. And you now know what to do when you discover both of them. I can always tell you guys, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. So we encourage you to leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.